Good morning, good morning, good morning. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's doing well. Now you all have either slept or are getting ready to sleep. Good morning, Echo. So let's go through this list, shall we? Okay. First. Thank you for getting first, Eddie. And then Wifey, thank you for getting second. Anya, thank you for getting third. And also taking first. Addie took it back. And then Anya. Infernal asked for pronouns. Hi, chat. I go by he, they. What do you use? And then Gibbets took it. Then Addie. Then Anya. Then Gibbets again. Then Addie. Then Chico. Good morning, Chico. Then Addie and Anya. Anya again. Then Eddie. Then Robin. Then Lily. Then Anya. Then Gibbets. Then Amdis. Now it's Anya again. Good job, Anya. Thank you so much for being first today. And now, good morning, little Wicked. How are you doing this morning? And good morning, Nia. Lovely to see you. Good morning, Gibbets. And thank you for the hydrate. Good morning, Ocean. Oh, your eyes are crying too much. What's wrong? Is it this thing? Is this better? Is it easier to look at then? Or I can at least reduce the amount. Here, what if I do this? Oh, wrong one. What if I do... There we go. Are you okay, Ocean? What's going on, sweetie? Where's the one I like? I think this one's nice today. But I really like this one. There we go. No. That's fair. Well, if you need anything, sweetie. Mwah. Good morning, Anya, and tired. Good morning, Gibbets and Echo Infernal. Good morning, Neeks, and good morning. Alright, so that. Oh, Ocean. Ocean, okay, I will be here. I'll be happy to cheer you up as best I can. Can I say that? I'm in a good mood this morning, chat. Last night, before I went to bed, I made 3 little videos, little TikTok posts, and I'm excited to post them. They're a little silly, a little goofy. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. I also found that over some people, I have a power. You wanna know what my power is? Apparently, for some people, all I need to do is count. And if I count from 1 to whatever number, they fall asleep. I kind of want to try it with all of you. But it was so funny. Oh, Anya, that's so sweet. I'm so glad to hear that. We're gonna try it. We're also gonna play Minecraft. Because I've been enjoying Minecraft. But we're gonna count. And if anybody passes out, you tell me, okay? You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. There we go. And let me know if you've fallen asleep, okay? Hi, Vanya. Good morning, sweetie. It's always lovely to see you. Neeks, that might have been what the joke was. What do you mean? What do you mean that's hypnosis? But yeah, I love it though because there's one person who I counted down for that like 3 nights, different nights. I counted down and they fell asleep almost instantly. And it's just the funniest thing in the entire world to me. There we go. I think I might make a little audio actually of just counting. With soft music or not, I'm not sure yet. But yeah. Because that way, if I can just put you all to sleep, and I don't need to worry about you all oversleeping or being tired all the time. Wait, does that mean you'll miss streams if I put you to sleep? You all wouldn't miss streams if I made an audio that put you to sleep, would you? Right? Probably. What? Make me worried. You make me so worried. Okay, well. The Pied Piper for raccoons. Counting down is always fun too. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, I do always think that's really funny, Aura, is that my streams are just at the perfect time for your meds. I'm glad. I'm glad that that has been the case. That I get to hang out with you for your med time. I haven't had breakfast yet. I woke up very, very recently. As much as, I wish I had had time for breakfast. Lovies. Darlings. I usually come straight here. I don't mind coming here. Oh, I do have water. Don't you worry. I'm taking care of myself. I am taking care of myself. There we go. Now, I have been playing this a little bit off stream, just very little bit. Oh, I should get oatmeal. Oatmeal would be such a nice little treat. I want to make the Princess Diana oatmeal. No, honey, sweeties. I appreciate y'all caring about me so very much. But if I wake up and I immediately eat, I don't think it's going to be okay for my tummy. I have had savory oatmeal. I used to make it. I enjoy it a lot. I do it with mushrooms and with maybe little like bacon pieces or... Thank you. We're going to be working on this whole today. Sweet grits. I have not had sweet grits, but that makes a lot of sense. So I want to make the Princess Diana oatmeal. Because apparently the way she used to like it was using, instead of milk, orange juice. And apparently it was very, very tasty. Yes. Yes. I'll have to look it up and I'll try it at some point and tell you all how it is. But it sounds very interesting to me. Yeah. I mean, I like a sweet breakfast sometimes. A sweet breakfast makes me feel like a little bit more awake in the morning. I feel like my blood sugar isn't high enough. You don't like orange juice? Orange juice is delicious. Every tooth is a sweet tooth. Unless it has a cavity in it. Oh, really? High protein. I mean, chat, you look like you're high protein enough, right? Can I just eat you instead? You hate all juices. Oh, come on. You can't hate all juices. Juices are so good. Oh, but the American bread is like cake. You're well marveled. Ooh. Oh, a connoisseur, huh? Yeah, you know what my favorite breakfast is, chap? I have a hard time picking favorite anythings because I'm the kind of person who, when they go to a restaurant or a cafe never gets the same thing twice. We've talked about this before, but I told you about the one place I didn't like going anymore because they got so used to me ordering the same thing that they would have it ready for me. And I was like, oh damn, I can't waste your food. And so like, now what? But my eggs and bacon is what it was. No, my all-time favorite breakfast, though, is a traditional German breakfast. You know, you have your Brötchen, which are bread rolls. You have your meats and cheeses and your thick yellow butters. You'll have quark and yogurt and maybe like a boiled egg, though I don't like boiled eggs, so I would try to get mine scrambled. And you'd have your jellies and Nutella and so much stuff. It's always the best. I just love the way it felt, you know, to eat it. Oh my god, that's too many pickaxes. Well, it's fine. Good morning and thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. It is. We'll have to look at one sometime. I tried to learn how to make Brötchen because you can't really get the right bread in the States. Oh, we need food. Do I have food? We have wheat for now. Biscuits and gravy is good, but biscuits and gravy is easy to make. Trying to make a proper Brötchen is significantly harder. Why am I just like what? Thank you. I'm glad you like my voice and model. Oh, hollandaise sauce is so easy. You can do it, I believe, Nyako. You just do it slow, low heat. But thank you. Alanya. I'm glad you like my voice. Pixel, why do you think we are? Yeah, I like the barrels. The barrels look nicer than the chests. Oh, but you need to be active with the hollandaise. You just do it slowly while you're there. Try using a blender. What do you mean? Addie, you silly. Alright. Guess we're gonna be like this for a little while. I hope you all enjoy this tone as well. You know what's surprising? Oh, alright, I understand you now. I get you. It's alright. Ain't not a thing to worry about, sweetie. Ain't not a thing to worry about. I do want some oatmeal. I think some savory oats would be lovely this morning, actually. Something not too hard on my stomach. Or maybe I'll make myself some rice porridge. That might be nice. But that definitely needs to be savory. Some savory rice porridge. Your dog ate your Switch card? Honey, no. Oh, that's so bad. I hope you get another one soon. I don't know what I'm gonna eat today. guess there's some things I could make. But I don't really think about it yet. Oh yes. Switch games have a chemical that's been applied to them to make them taste bad. You should do it, Eddie. Take it. Steal from him. Toast and tea. I mean, toast and tea's a classic, ain't it? Did you at least put something on the toast, or was it plain, dry toast? Please tell me you didn't do that monstrosity to yourself. Oh man, I have so many copies of the same game. A little cream cheese, very nice, very nice. Put a little honey on your cream cheese. A little honey, a little jelly is always very nice. It gives you my theory of sandwich spreads. I feel like I want to slow cook something today, but I'm also really hungry right after stream. Not sure I have the mental capacity for something like that. Smoking ribs. Oh, that sounds lovely. Please make sure you can leave me a few. No. I will never do a mukbang ASMR. See, chat. My jaw pops when I eat food too much. And that is not a pleasant sound. Probably something I need to go see a dentist about, but, you know. That's expensive. Morning, Casey. How you been? I'm good, April Fool's stream. Yeah, the absolute worst stream that you've ever experienced. That ain't happening. Not this time. I don't know. I think mine was partially my braces. When I had braces, but also I used to do football a lot. You know how football goes, right, chat? You get beat up a little bit here and there. Is what it is. Is what it is. Yeah. I used to have braces, yeah. My teeth are relatively straight now. Have not worn my retainer in years, but hey. I think that might be why I've never had this worked on. Every time I go to the dentist, they're like, oh yeah, my jaw pops too. Anyways, you have a root canal we need to do, and I'm like, damn. Yeah, I've been putting off a few things. Oh, nice. Yeah, I might need to get a new arm, too. Unfortunately, my arm has gotten a little bit loose over the years. So, now I have to adjust myself instead of adjusting the mic to look at me. Good morning, Spell. Lovely to see you. I love that little kitty cat. Chat, did you know there's an ASMR Awards? Apparently there's ASMR Awards. And more than one person has recommended me for next year's. We obviously didn't get in this one, but more than one person recommended me for next year's ASMR awards, so maybe, just maybe, you might see me in them. I know, but I'm such a non-traditionalist, you know? I'm such a non-traditionalist. I mean, I don't do all the little popping noises and all the little triggers. You think I need to start doing those so that so that I can be classified? I just like keeping things here nice and low. And you never want me to do that. I mean, I've also been told that mumbling can be something. So maybe we just mumble instead. We just talk nice and low like this. And don't enunciate my words. Nice and slow. You mumble all the time anyways. Wow, so rude to me. Yeah. I totally enunciate my words, chat. I try my hardest. No, I think I can handle it. You watched the traditional ASMR, Aura? I didn't even know you watched ASMR. I'm surprised you actually stick around when I do these. And I know you're my mod and all, but like, I would get, not wanting to come by if it's something that makes you uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. No, God, Mia. I want to see if any of these grow. Anya, thank you so much for the beds. Is that what got you? Good Night Moon. Oh, I love Good Night Moon. That is the one kid story I remember. The one kid story I remember growing up that used to be read to me from time to time. Because I didn't have traditional bedtime stories. It was never a book. It was my dad who would, well, oh, I got you. Thank you, Ani. I really do appreciate them. So the bedtime stories I used to get, my mother would either read me big chapter books. We'd do Ella Enchanted or the Harry Potter series or, what was it, Da Vinci Code, I think we read once. But I'd get upset at her because she would get too excited with the story and read ahead. And so I had to start reading ahead on my own so we could catch back up and read together at night. Which is why I got pretty decent at reading at a young age. But my bedtime stories were made-up stories. My dad would come in and he'd say, we're going to do a story about blah, blah, blah. I need you to come up with a superhero and what the superhero power is. Come up with the sidekick. Come up with the bad guy. And tell me where everything's happening. And so he'd do that. I would come up with a place and with the superhero and the everything, and he'd come up with a story while we were sitting there. I don't ever remember if the stories were any good. Because I'd fall asleep before we would reach the end. But I enjoyed them. Murder mystery books. I never really had much issue sleeping though, so maybe that's why. I think it's really important to read the kids. Helps a lot, I think, with that development. Yep, trauma makes us funny, doesn't it? Oh, Echo, sweetie. Okay, we'll make a list of things I need to do. So first, the counting one. We'll make a counting audio. I need to do sleep paralysis audio. And we'll do maybe some bedtime. Different kid stories and some non-kid stories. I should be writing all of this down. Yes. For people who are waking up or who are kind of, don't know if they're awake or asleep, I'd like to make an audio that kind of, lets them know that they are safe and that they are awake and everything is okay. I could do that one as well, Pixel. But I'm not a fan of 50 Shades of Grey. There's a lot better dark fantasy stories out there. You know something really funny, Chad? One of my favorite books is called The Thunder Thief. Or it might be The Storm Thief, actually. It's called The Storm Thief. And whenever I bring it up, people are like, oh yeah, like the Percy Jackson book. I'm like, no. The Storm Thief is something very different. The Storm Thief is about an island out in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by weird machines that keep people stuck on the island. And on the island is a chaos storm that steals things and replaces them with other things. And if I remember right, the main character had his lungs stolen. Of course you are, Aiko. That checks out. Oh, the lightning hits you and it's just gone. And it was such an interesting book. Because the whole time they're trying to find this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. And there's this thing about a mechanical golem and its cat and this thief guy. What do you mean you haven't slept? Addie, what do you mean you haven't slept? And Aika, please do recommend me. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Is Howl's Moving Castle a book? I didn't realize it was a book. I only knew of it as the movie. Thank you for the hydrate, Pink. Really? What is the reading difficulty of it? Is it a young adult book? A book for adults? A kid's book? Goofy. Yeah, I guess you're right, Pixel. Honey Bunch. Addie, no. Do never feel bad for missing a stream. Never feel bad for missing a stream. There's your health and your happiness are worth so much more to me than just being at my stream. If I have 0 viewers because every one of you is sleeping and taking care of yourself, or is out there having a good time and living a good life, I'll be happy to have that, okay? You need to be your own priority. I can never be your number one priority. So take care of yourselves, please. You should never feel bad. I stream twice a day. If you make it to just one, that's already a lot. I streamed 61 times last month, chat. 61 times. Imagine showing up to 61 of anything, and some of you have. Hi, Felina. I would not do that for anyone in the world, chat. There's not a single person in the world that I would go and sit and watch every single day, twice a day. Oh, honey, no. I'm so sorry for bullying you. Kitty cat, could you be a sweetie and not? Thank you. No, I mean, I will eat the raccoon alive if they don't show up at least half of the streams, but that's different. What's the news, Felina? And I will make a video, and I will privately tutor you on the Discord if you do need help making a character still. I can sit and walk you through it. I would rather be able to help you make it in the Discord, and anybody who wants to come by so we can get started. Nice, proud of you, Felina. Hope that works out well for you. Oshi. Good morning. How are you doing this morning? Can we get a lovely little shout out for Oshi? Yeah, we're gonna swap some scenes. We're gonna do this one. And this one. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you all are doing very, very well today. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, a writer, and a flirt. And today, we're playing a little bit of Minecraft and relaxing. What were you all doing? Just chatting. Do you have any good conversations? Of course, Ocean. Let me know what time it is. Maybe I can do an extra one. But how'd stream go, Oshi? Plotting arson. Yeah, that checks out. But if you need a raid and run. Oh, I've been thinking about doing some of that. It looks cool. How are horror mods? Hey, Oshi, if I, maybe do some horror mods that might have a multiplayer function, do you want to maybe, play a game or two together? You don't have to say no or yes right now, but it might be fun. But of course, if anybody needs to go, get a drink of water, relax, take some time away from stream, feel free to do so. We're just really digging a hole. For good reason, I want supplies, but it's been a struggle trying to find what I'm looking for. Well, I hope the arson plotting went very well. And I hope that when you do commit arson, you'll make sure to take pictures so I can see it. Wait, what? In Minecraft from the Horror Mod Pack, I had open played a very scary music. Were you lurking on my stream, Hoshi, or did somebody put my voice into a horror pack? Oh, well, Ben, don't you worry. I'll throw a raid out later on. So just relax here, and we'll see where you end up going. Alright, let's go make a bunch of pickaxes again. Glad to have you. I'm a scary mod chat. Boo. There you go. There's my spooky edition. Really? Oh, you've been hanging out for a long time. Chad, did you know that when we're doing the fundraiser for the Gene V2, I will be doing a 24-hour stream? Hypothetically, it'll at least be a 12-hour stream. It's always good to see you, though, Hoshi. When is this? Once we hit 50 average viewers steadily. Of course. Hoshi, you never need to pay me back, but I'm always happy to raid into you. You have such a good vibe in your streams that I never worry about sending my community to you. I love having somebody that I can rely on. So thank you for that. For being as lovely as you are. Good morning, Calypsy. When 24-hour stream? Yeah, when it'll be way in the future when I do the fundraiser. It'll either be close to the end of this year or the start of next year. My goal is to hit a 50 average viewer count steadily for a month in both my ASMR and gaming streams, so that when we do, do it, we'll have a fun audience for it. Because I know I can't expect people to be there, 24/7. It is unknown right now. It's depending on how well I can stream. Don't hope your ASMR is bad. Don't hope that your ASMR is bad, chat. ASMR, your insomnia is bad. I'm tired. You can't blame me for this one. I hope chat's ASMR isn't bad. Of course, Hoshi. I'm glad. I know we don't know each other directly, But you're definitely at least a adjacent friend. Oh no, it's getting dark. Your content has been very lovely, and your community has been just the same. Not me gonna get parasocial here. More than an acquaintance. But it's kind of hard to say, because we haven't, talked directly. A hilarious story. Oh, tell me about it. Enjoy your lurkies nap time. Sleep well. Oh, you're a lurkit. Okay, I understand. My 50-hour stream. Thank you for the hydrate ice night. Oh, and Calypsy. Okay. So, chat, there's 2 ways of doing this fundraiser, and I'm still trying to figure out which way I want to do it. We can do donations and sums, increase the timer, and so that the stream goes on as long as people pay for it. I went on a date yesterday with a guy. We're talking about hobbies. I drew and did craft stuff. He was to hike and go and do bird watching. Oh. One second. Okay. It's okay. Okay. Oh, got too loud, chat. This is ASMR. I can't get that loud. I have to keep quiet. I can't let that out, or else it's gonna wake everyone up. Oh, that would be so funny. That'd be so funny. Imagine having a phobia of clowns, and they're like, "Ian, I'm a professional party clown." No. I'm so sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. But are you gonna go on another date? Are you gonna go on another date? Or is this your one and done? No, you're done. That's done. That's done. No. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. It's okay to have hobbies that are incompatible with each other, but well, maybe you can get over it. Because I'm not gonna stop wanting to show you my birds, so, you're just gonna have to not have a phobia, okay? It's gross. I'm sorry, sweetie. Are you putting bird puns in? Crazy. The audacity of men. They are very, very silly. How obsessed was he with birds? He's just like, I need. Okay, can we like? Wait, was he a professional like bird photographer, or was it still just like a hobby? What you need is a chroma clipsy. Oh my god. Like a really expensive hobby. Oh. God, what an asshole. Okay. Thank you for the lurks and the naps. Sleep well. I need to find more iron. How is it this difficult to find iron? Hello, Seagull. How you doing? Yeah, my only phobia is one that you really don't have to worry about, because it's not like people can do that with, you know, me still being there. Chubbs, it's a nice basement, though. You should be happy to be in the basement. No, the trees actually did grow. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, look at this. Some of them didn't, but a lot of them did. Okay. I just had an idea, chat. Okay, what if we start doing reading streams? I mean, if I hit partner and I can, like, make streaming a living, I will do nightly book reading streams. Maybe we can do some other ones where I can just do, I'll do at least some recordings of books. But if we hit partner, you know, face reveal and all thing, there is a used bookstore near me. What if we do a little camera date where I have the camera, you know, aiming away from me, of course, so you can't see me. Not that you vote on the book, we all go to the used bookstore together. We walk through the store, we find our own books, we pick them out. And then those will be the books I read for the month, the week. And after we finish them, of course, I can send them out to people who want some of the books I have. Because I'd rather be able to share my books with you all than, you know, have too many on my shelves. I'll sign the book. I'll write a little message to you in the book and send it to you. Which I think is always really funny. I like the idea of people signing things that they didn't work on. Like, imagine me signing Harry Potter and sending it to somebody. It's like, ah, it's an autographed book by J.K. Rowling. No. By Jean. Do you actually want to sign a book from me? Oh, don't worry, I'd only buy her books used. Thank you for the follow, Yellowbird. Yellowbird, wasn't that the name of a dog and something? That's Ladybird. That's the dog from King of the Hill. With a kissy mark next to signature. Okay, I'll even get the right lipstick for it. I like it. If we're gonna be digging down for a while anyways, I might as well make fun for it. A butt print on the cover. Yeah, that's fair, that's fair. Honey. Alright. I'll definitely do it. I will potentially be able to actually do it because, so, what some of you don't know about me, I do have family in Europe. And one of my family members does own, well, I guess my stepfather. Oh my god, I hadn't thought about that. I guess he is my stepfather now. I should call him that and see what he does. Huh, I have a stepfather. Interesting, I hadn't thought about it. You're about to lose a stepfather? I'm sorry to hear that. But he has a warehouse, and so I can hypothetically ship things out from there. That catches threw me off. Dude's cheating and he calls up a bookstore. I like that. That makes me happy. Alright. I'm enjoying taking this whole, I'm gonna be honest, chat. I'm loving this right now. As you should, Clipsy. As you should. Not a dog, mate. Valid. I like having a stepmother and a stepfather because it means that my parents found someone to love them and take care of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You better Christmas gifts. I don't know, my parents are broke, so... I actually get annoyed when they give me presents, because I'm like, y'all just talk to me about money. Now you're giving me a gift. Why do you do this? Is this why I'm not good with money? Because y'all keep giving away all your money. Oh, I love that, Jibbits. I love to hear that. Oh, what you do? Oh, Ocean. Oh, I'm such a good doggy. I don't think Kitty! I didn't mean to. The stupid cat kept walking underneath. I think that was Mittens. Oh, I don't think I did the heart right. Oh, we're gonna have to retry the heart. I'm so sorry, Chad. I didn't mean to kill him. They're mourning now. I don't mean to be mean to the kitten. They just kept getting underneath my pickaxe. It's like, what do you... See? Okay, you know what? There. No, I'm sorry. Oh, bro. I'll get another kitty, I promise. Pinky promise. Mitten had a baby initially. That was Boots. I don't remember which one. This one might be... This might be Men's, and the other one was Boots. We just never had a chance to label them. Men's Junior, okay. There was 3 cats, now there's 2. What do you mean you can dye their colors? What do you mean you can dye their colors? You can change their color? Color? Oh, I have a name tag. I'm trying to mine a hole to get iron. I'm hoping to hit, like enough iron to actually make things that I want. But, I've yet to hit iron, so I don't know if we're ever gonna hit iron. Fine, chat, we're moving the hole. You're right, 99% of gamblers quit before hitting big. Gibbets, you're so right. Never stopping. So I should, but, okay, you know what? Here's what we're gonna do. Big money, 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 big money. Big money, chat. Hey, look. Big money. I'll figure it out. Kitty cat, kitty cat, kitty cat, kitty cat. Damn it. All right. Oh, whose birthday was it? Happy late birthday to you. Happy late birthday to you. Happy late birthday, dear Camilla. Happy late birthday to you. Hope you had a lovely birthday. It's not even a cave, chat. It's just a geode. What are the chances? Is it anybody else's birthday this month? Well, when's your birthday? Do we? Happy late birthday to you. Happy late birthday to you. Happy late birthday, Carmia. Happy late birthday to you. In a few weeks, I will be streaming every day. Every single day for at least a year. So make sure you come by on your birthday and I'll sing for you. I like the noise it makes. So I'm breaking it. And that way I can make my own little geode room. And thank you for the follow. What do you mean? What nodes are broken and gone forever now? Those things? I got the crystals. So cute. More bucks. And there'll be more. There'll always be more. No. What's wrong with those? Is something special about them? Good morning, Minty. How you doing? Very cool. I'm doing well. No, they're there. Oh, a check-in. I didn't know there was a check-in. Maybe I should do something with the check-in. Nothing happened to There's only 2 cats. There's only ever been 2 cats. No, it did not happen. Nothing. There's only ever been 2 cats, Chad. There's only ever been 2 cats. You can't prove otherwise. No, can you? Calypsy was always the 3rd cat, chat. Don't know why you think it was any different than that. Okay, let's see if we can find a mountain. Does that count as a mountain, chat? What if I check those tunnels? Here, I'll go check out. Let's check out some tunnels. See if we can find something in there. No, because that would be lying. You're not a liar, are you? You're making up lies. Filthy, filthy lies. I'm a little hungry. Do I have any food? Maybe I should order something. Good morning, Uncle Rose. How are you doing today? No, no, no. Should I believe you? I believe you. I know. She's not gonna. Oh, I should make a second shield just in case. Cheers. Oh, you asked me to wish them a happy birthday, and I did. I didn't realize I was answering a question. I just like singing happy birthday to people. I forgot to make a shield. Oh, it's fine. I'll be okay. Go wash your face, sweetie. Take some time to take care of yourself. Go wash your face. Hello, Zabraxel. How you doing today? Zebra. I forgot about that. Okay. That skeleton has been stuck in that box for a long time, chat. I almost feel bad for him. Stop hitting my cats. You're living in the boat now. Oh, I'm sorry to hear you're sick. Why are you feeling sick? Are you okay? What'd you get sick with? Nothing too bad, I hope. Maple, hi Maple. Oh, I see. Ah, fuck. Oh, there goes that world. The cat did not do what it was supposed to do, chat. The cat didn't help me at all. Alright, lovelies. Yeah, the cats were supposed to help with the creepers, but it didn't. Creeper showed up anyways. But it is what it is. It's fine. Yeah, we'll get some dogs. Good morning, Hatsune. How are you doing? Oh, this is not the right music at all. There we go. Alright, lovelies. I'm going to step away for just a minute and see what I have in the fridge. And then we will start a new world. Oh, you're tired. I'm sorry to hear that. Now, what are we thinking for this one? Hardcore, of course. Thank you so much for the follow. Let's name this one Mittens. Chat, I need a random world seed. Give me a random word, and we'll throw it in there. Tribute? I like tribute. Tribute is nice. Alright, let's see what we get. Actually, it's a similar biome, isn't it? Oh, okay, pretty mountain, little space. Lovely little river here, I like that. Kinda cute. I think we can work with this. Now, chat, I'm not gonna guarantee it, but what biome do you think I should build in this time? Snow or flower forest. Okay, we'll see if we can find either of those. Oh, this is no way. Do we just start by a village? Hey, what are the chances? We going for speed running, chat? Let's speed run. Let's go. You've got nothing I want. I want your bed. None of you get any pets, no one gets to sleep. Speed run. I'm sure this village has food, chat. We'll find something. I know my hunger's going down, but I'll go up in a sec. See? Great, we're fine. Hey. No chest, though. I know, right? And zebra, I also like it. I like getting to do both. It's been suggested to me to do, just ASMR or just, the chaotic streaming, but, they're both me. So I gotta do both of them. I can't believe there's not a single chest here. Pause the game and get food. Oh, sorry, chat. I mean, if there's a chest here, I'll get food. Excuse, am I interrupting? No way he just pushed me out and closed the door. That was, okay. He got shy. This village sucks, chat. There's not a single chest. Knock before open doors, you're right. Okay, I mean, come on, there has to be a chest here somewhere, right? Every village has a chest. Why am I getting the one village that has no chest? So sad. I guess I could kill a golem. See, I'm the best streamer. Fine, fine. I'll be right back. You all behave yourselves. We'll see if I have anything right now. I might not have any food yet. I might not have gotten groceries recently, so, you know. What can you do? I'll set a little 5-minute timer. What are the chances you'll come right in right when I get back? Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yuki, I saw you. I saw you trying to do my words on stream. Hello, lovely, lovely raiders. My name's LuckyJene. I'm a gambler, a writer, a flirt. No, don't worry. All I found was some sliced almonds, so that'll hold me over until we end stream later and I go buy some real food. But yeah, hi, how was stream? What were you doing? Looks like we're ready to shout out, but I'm assuming you were doing ASMR, am I right? Let's make sure. Of course. How was it? How was stream? This morning we're just relaxing, playing some little Minecraft. But if you need to raid and run, please feel free to do so. And if anyone from the stream wants to go take a little break, get a snack or something, please do. It was a lovely stream. How are you? I'm doing very lovely today. We've had some lovely people here, had some fun little conversations, and overall it's been a great morning. Though I am heavily imagining breakfast after this. You know what I might do, chat? I have not been to a Waffle House in ages. I think I might go get a waffle. A chocolate chip waffle, or maybe some hash browns or something. It's always such a fun little vibe to go get waffles at Waffle House. No, you should get some sleep. Please get some sleep. Sleep is important. Yes. And Yuki, did you see the ASMR awards? I didn't even realize ASMR had awards. I kind of wonder if the awards were done in ASMR styles. I think that'd be funny. Or they could. Really? That's amazing. I want to host an awards show. But I don't know what I would host an awards show about. The Chatter Awards. Maybe I'll give awards to chatters. 1 second, chat. There we go. Could win the show. No. Oh, I have been busy. I'd forgotten completely. Goosey, do you like to tag me in those? I'd really appreciate it because I always go and look at the tags. That way I have a big red mark on my Discord to point out where I need to be looking. No, I mean, give you all rewards or awards for being members of my community. Thank you, I really do appreciate it. You know, we could have most insomniac viewer, smelliest chatter, the goofiest and the most wholesome, the award for the biggest spender. I think Desi might win that one off. I don't know, actually, chat. Y'all don't sleep a lot, which is so funny. Hanging out with an ASMR streamer so often. You all need sleep. You need more sleep. Please, get sleep. How are you supposed to enjoy my streams if you don't sleep? Even Batman sleeps. Have you ever seen those posters where they make superhero posters for kids? And one of them says, even Batman listens to his parents. Thank you for following Too Much Crap. I hope that's not a reference to me. Alright. Exactly. Exactly. Alright, we did mention living in the snow biome, so here we are, snow. Gonna make ourselves some boots. I'm so sorry for this, Piggy, but I need your skin for my boots. Snow's pretty. Oh. Didn't work, chat. It's cows I need, not pigs. That's right. It's a shame. Well, that's all right. Imagine. I do not. Really? That sounds adorable. We just need to find a little spot. A lovely little spot to live. No, Addie. You know I wouldn't do it out of malice. Deja vu, I have been in this place before. Higher on the street. Interesting. Oh, look at how fun this place is. There we go, let's explore. Down into them. I need a shield. I see you, little creeper. Oh, well, I hope that went well. Oh, sorry, I forgot about that southern voice. Give me a little stretch here. Now, we're going to be stuck in southern for a little while. Hope you'll enjoy the southern. We got 5 minutes on that. Let's see, we are at 7:19. So it's 7:24. Oh, I'm sorry he was crying. Well, there's a lot of spooky things down there, chat. Too many things that don't want me to be around. Fortunately for them, I'm staying up here. Y'all remember when I did that bit where I was trying to survive in a cave and only a cave? And my rule was to never leave the cave? Y'all, I kinda wanna do that again. That was fun. How do y'all feel about that? I think I have enough wound to make it risky. Here's what we'll do, chat. No. I'm cutting down one tree. That's it. We get one tree. No. There we go. Oh, don't fall asleep with your contacts. It's so bad for you. You can scratch your eyes like that. Hope you're doing okay. You doing alright, Nix? Alright. There we go. Alright, chat. We got plenty of bread. This is it. We're living in this cave. Oh no. Why you gotta make this challenging right off the bat? Oh, Minty, I'm doing lovely today. Today's been a great day. I need to get groceries, but besides that, I think everything's been absolutely wonderful so far. Well, there's a start. How are we gonna do this? Ain't no way. Ain't no way. What are the chances? Oh, look at that. Just what I needed. Oh, that sounds awful, Calypsy. Hope you're doing alright after that. So we'll just get lucky, chat. That happens. had the devil's luck. Alright. A nice little start. And of course, we'll get an iron pick next. Alright, have a good one. You be safe and all that. Alright? Yeah, we got them LuckyJenes. Yeah, we have a lot of good supplies right now, actually, if you think about it. Look what we got. Enough torches to last us a little while. Let's go dig down a little bit more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, hey, look, a spawner. Let's go get that spawner real quick. Oh, we got real lucky, chat. Look how close that is. No spawn webs on this side. I see an axe first. Or a sword, I guess, right? Hello there, Griever. Did y'all see that, by the way? I just fell through the ground. Did not die. Landed right next to a spawner. Had just gotten the shield, so I stayed alive. And look, more iron. Oh, today everything's going my way. Ain't that fun? I guess we can make a little EXP farm down here or something. I think I can actually stop this. Yes. Also for you, Addie. Well, thank you so much for the redeem. Yeah, but I can still make something for it. What did you do when you decided you wanted to voice act? Oh, I've done a lot of things. I signed up for a course and I didn't go too much. Because, it really wasn't my thing. I practiced voices, and when I decided and I found somebody offering a voice demo reel for a price that I could afford, I hit them up and said, yeah, could you help me make a voice demo reel? And he did. And then later on he actually returned to me with the information about a game that was coming out looking for voices, and he liked my demo reel. So I auditioned for that. They liked the voice, and now I have 3 voices in a video game. Good morning, Astral Rose. No. Well, that's over. Cave. got the devil's luck, chat. The luck goes well, and then it goes bad. And then it goes well, and then it goes bad. It's like a superpower. But it's fun. I like it. I like my ups and downs and ups and downs. Too much one way wouldn't be fun. You don't want everything to go well. Eventually you'd go insane. Calypsy, do you have any makeup wipes? Go get some makeup wipes. Wipe down your face. You need to take care of your skin so that your skin will take care of you. Probably not. But I think it'd be fun. I don't know if a cave spider grinder is even worth it. But if you have the spawner, make it. Alright. If you get a single pimple, don't you dare come crying to me. Alright, chat. Here's what we're gonna do. This is gonna be really, really stupid. We're gonna set a 15-minute timer. I am a villain. I am indeed a villain. A good villain. A villain for good. I do good things with my villainy. Alright. The glitter in your eye can make you blind. Please do not. Alright, chat, you ready? It's 7:31 right now. At 7:45, we're digging straight down. No. I steal from people and commit crime. A hero abides by the law. I do what I want. Also, I want to take over a small city, rename it, make it my own. Oh, no, I'm not giving away to anybody. I'll help out people directly, but I'm not giving them money. I don't trust y'all with money. Nova. Okay, well, I give money to some people. But I'd rather buy somebody something than, just give them random money. Not because I don't trust them with it, but, the way we be. Alright. I will never buy a person. You can't buy people. You're cheap, you can be bought. Alright. We're definitely going to need this, so we'll keep this here. Exactly. And that's why we're actually working on, getting the presentation made. A lovely, lovely chatter will be drawing a character concept piece for me pretty soon. Oh, this is such a good place to spawn. Just a sketch is an idea. I want to get a few different sketches done to see, what people think Gene as a villain would look like before I settle on one, because I have to have a really, really perfect design before I go spend $10,000 on getting the 3D model made and everything. $10K for everything I'm going to need for the 2.0. which will include a different kind of VR headset and some spacing and tracking things, as well as new assets, emotes, art. It'll be a whole thing, but I'm excited. A big investment. Alright. Let's get some wood real quick. A toonie is a Canadian dollar, I believe. Probably, I'm assuming, a $2 bill. Yeah. That's more than one. You're so good at this, chat. Oh my god, your math skills are incredible. I'm so very impressed. Oh, I need to make that obvious that that's an automated message and not me spamming that to y'all. Y'all conversation is still fine. Yeah. Koshi, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy your time here. Thank you. I also enjoy my voice. I guess I should hope I do. Brent. What is one of the best rank? The holy guacamole. That is a good reaction. That is a very good reaction. Alright, where do we start? We have plenty of wood to start with. Grain, some seed, and potatoes to grow. A few beds, bread to make it through, some fruit. The only thing I'd want if I could find it is an anvil. But I don't think there was a smithy in this town, was there? We're at 7 minutes left before we need to start digging. Start digging in your butt, twin. Oh, why not? I think it'd be nice to get some bamboo. That goes pretty well. What if bamboo can go underground? Because if it can go underground... You were robbed. I'm so sorry to hear you were robbed. You know cool people? Ooh, perfect. Yes. Wait a second. There ain't no way. No way we found a speedrunner seed. Wait, if I could find Flint nearby. We gotta try it, Jim. We gotta try it. I need to see what's on the other side. There's a fortress, chat. There's a fortress. What do you mean? This is what the hell? And there's trees. Okay. All right, you ready? I think it's time, chat. We have a few minutes here, so I'm gonna try to grab some sugar cane, I think. And we need... We don't need the cobblestone yet, so let me grab this. I didn't make shears, damn. Okay. We ready? We will now not go above ground. I think we have a solid start, though. Ooh, thank you so much for the Wadim. How dare you? I like those flowers. Which flowers should I get rid of? We know the tree won't grow. And the goal is going to be to get to the nether for wood, unless I can make bamboo grow. I have bone. I don't need rotten meat. I have a bed. Okay. Oh, let's make something to light the way at least. How's everybody doing, by the way? I just want to check in on everybody. We still doing good? We still having fun? Good, I'm glad to see. Oh, gibbets. I'm such a good doggy. Glad to hear, glad to hear. Get some sleep, sweetie. Wake up tomorrow. You can be as mean as you want. Ooh, thank you so much for the redeem button, Buggos. There you go. I'm proud of you, Maroon. Good job. Good job. Not crucified. You almost dead. Right, I don't need this one piece of wood. Don't need gravel, don't need iron. I do need the furnace. I can always get more furnace stuff, but I cannot get the wood I need. Let's go. Well, I suppose we are going to be doing this yet. Why are you saying, damn, Carnia, what is happening? What are you so worried about? Did something happen? You slept for 8 hours, it's so good, it's so healthy, so good for you. I'm super proud of you. Please make sure that you're always sleeping as much as you possibly can. There we go, this is what we were looking for. Look at that iron. It's a good iron that we needed. Okay. Okay, I suppose I don't need both of these beds, but we do need the iron. The iron is so very, very important. Lucy wasn't sleeping, but then he did. That's very true. Very good, very good. Good, that's plenty of iron. The iron will help me here, yeah. First we're going to put this down so that I can make myself another little forge. There it is. Good. Then we're going to put the forge right here. And we're going to fill it with both the charcoal and the raw iron. And now we wait until I can have the things that I need. Come. What if I just made a little base here? We'll see what happens if I expand this space. Maybe I will find something. Zibbits, what are you running around for? Sit down, you're going to hurt somebody or yourself, which is even worse. If you're going to hurt anybody, make it somebody who deserves it and not you, because you definitely do not deserve it, okay? Do you understand? Good. There we are. Nice and patient, as you should be. Relax. That is what this space is for. Do not misutilize my space, okay? can you do that for me? Make sure that you are utilizing my space for its purpose and not for causing harm to yourself. I believe we have enough iron that I can also make a little pick, which will be very useful for me here. Good evening, Asher, Red Panda. I don't know if I said evening when it is morning for me, but we are going to be in this voice for a little while, so I hope you all enjoy it. It is fun to do. Alright, give me this. I have too many things, too many things. It's always a problem, isn't it? But how are you doing, Asher? Is everything going well? We don't need that bad. I'll be fine. Oh, we still have one more minute on this voice. Straight down time. Very tired. I look more iron. I knew there was iron down here. Oh. It was waiting for me. And straight down again. I guess I could use dirt, couldn't I? Well, Asher, I hope you have some time to get some sleep. And if not, take today slow. And don't let the pressures of the world overwhelm you. There we are. Oh, I look gold. I also need that. What do I have right now? 6 iron should be enough to make a bucket. Oh, that's some spooky noises. Wonder if that means there's something over there. What do you think, lovelies? No. I will not check the flowers. How am I going to get the flowers back? No, you're right. That makes sense. There's definitely a cave here somewhere. I know there is. Where is it, though? I feel it. Kamiya's so smart. Modest too. glad one of us is. Sure as hell wasn't gonna be me. Alright, I'll drink some water. Thank you for the reminder. Well, while that's going, fortunately, I've gotten rid of all my dirt so far. And I could really use some dirt. Oh well, what can you do? Nah. If I was meant to have dirt, I'd have dirt. Things will work themselves out. Oh, thank you for the stretch. I don't even know what a fire charge does. I don't think I want this. Not enough dirt on me. Sorry. Wish there was. Smithing table, minecart, bamboo raft. I like the bamboo raft. Sticks from bamboo. That's why I brought bamboo with us, chat. So I wouldn't have to waste the wood on it. Smoker, fletching table, brown dye, campfire. The wedding got canceled. Oh no. What happened? Hopefully nothing too bad. Wait. How does that go again? That's not what I wanted. Could have sworn there was another way to make stick. There we go. Nice. That's insane. Well, I hope everything's going well besides that. Enjoy your webtoons. I just want to find a cave. Or some lava. Chet, what do you think I'll find first? Lava? Or the bottom? Redstone. My death. My death isn't an option here, unfortunately. No death, I'll never die this one. This one will last forever. They look old. Enjoy your lurkies and your showers. Welcome back. Oh, we found bedrock. That's not what I wanted. There we go. All right. Where were we? Looks like I got too greedy and dug too deep, then I found the ground. No. I'd love some fried noodles, it'd be very nice. Oh, I wouldn't dig it. I do love that little peeking emo, it's so cute. I'm glad I got that one. Hi. How you doing, Volfa? I just really want to find a cave. So we're gonna keep going until I can find one. Hello, lava. Been looking for you. Wow, that was difficult and not at all what I was wanting. Let's see if we can figure out a nice little way around it. Ah, family trip to the casino. Gotta love family bonding, right? Please, I hope this is a lava link. How far are you gonna spread? Perfect. There we are. I do have cobblestone. Yeah, I do. We're good. Thank you for the follow, Mano. How you doing, Mano? Welcome, welcome, welcome. There's water here somewhere, Tripstone. Yes. Oh, I knew it. We'd find something eventually. Look at that, chat. We did it. Alright. Good morning, Aeronaut. How you doing? Let's get some water down here. I hope this is more than just a single piece of water, or else it's gonna just be frustrating. Ugh, I guess it'll do. And then we go again. Oh no, somebody snuck in with us, didn't they? How could they? Trying to murder me. So rude. Okay. Now it's time. That was unexpected. Alright. Yeah, just in case what we're gonna do. Just gonna do this real quick. It's fine. Oh. Oh. Drowned. That's kind of crazy. Good luck, buddy. Well, I'm glad to hear that. There we go. I think what this is going to do will be a little bit safer here. No, I don't have to worry about anybody sneaking up. Good morning, Desi. How are you doing today? Alright. Safety. Today is your Monday. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I hope work goes well for you. Glad to hear. I like making people fall asleep. It's my favorite thing. Sleep is so very, very important. One, two, I think it's three, right? Five hours. Could be worse, I guess. Could be worse. It's not the best, though. Do make sure that you're taking care of yourself, okay? Take a nap well and when you can. Well, I am planning on making the sleep aid audios. I'm sorry those aren't done yet, chat. Just haven't had the time. I promise I'll make them soon. One, two, three. Okay, we're doing good. My favorite foods. I like a lot of foods. Desserts. I like key lime pie is one of my favorites. And oh no, I like key lime pie. I like breads of all kinds. Breads are so good. I like good sandwiches. I love a good sandwich. Mm. I hope you slept well. I would enjoy a toast sandwich. I like all sandwiches. Sandwiches are incredible. And I like the ingenuity people can get with a sandwich. Oh, and I like meats too. I like new things. I like things I've never tried before. I like things that are tart. Things that are unique. And I think one of my favorite things is trying other people's favorites. Being able to share something that somebody loves. Those feelings make the food taste just so much better, you know? I wasn't a fan of taking naps, but I got better at taking naps. You have to take naps with intent. One of my favorite things to do, at least when I was dating somebody, was we'd get a bunch of just the appetizers. We'd eat only appetizers. There's something so nice about just having appetizers, trying a bunch of small things together. Could be, could be. Right. I slept okay last night. I stayed up a little bit later than I should have. But I was working on some little animation. So not animation, some tiki talks. And those went well. No, that's right. There we go. No, sorry, I don't have that set up. I haven't actually been posting to my TikTok recently. I do not have an Instagram account. Been told I need to make one. Maybe one day. Oh shoot, we need one more piece of cobble. There it is. For my 3D one, I'm still working on coming up on the idea for the 3D one. This model here is actually a pre-made model that I've only customized. 3D one I'm still trying to figure out the design for. But we'll get there eventually. I have more of a concept than anything. I might get a tail eventually. No promises, though. I do have a question, though, I want to try out here real quick. Can I make a pickaxe with cobbled deep slate? Oh, thank God. Okay. Right, and the new model will be based off of this one because it still just feels so much like me. You can cuddle it. We'll get a tail. It might be a short tail. Congratulations, Filth. I'm proud of you for being clean. There we go. I do need to label that as an automated message so people know that it's not based on what they're currently saying. You know? Okay. Hello, hello. You ready? This is the same place, isn't it? Which means that the red forest is over there. You're mentioning a baby guest, right? Where would I find that? Would it be in the dirt or would it be next to the bones? Gotcha. Hopefully they will what? Alright, let me take a look at this real quick. Oh, a new PNG model. Oh, that's gonna be cool. Let me know how that goes. That's interesting. Why is it like that? Skeleton. Do not trust the skeleton, chat. Do not trust the skeleton. There are too many skeletons. Do not trust them, for they are wicked. Is there iron in the nether? I doubt it. But I wish there was iron in the nether. Government. That's just as bad. Do not trust the government. So you're telling me I should go to the fortress right now without any armor, right? Back to the caves. Hello, Jack. How you doing? I'll be having a lovely day. Oh, that would have been bad. I think we went too far. No, we haven't gone far enough yet. Is that a stack strider? Chat, it's a stack strider. Look at him. Or is that somebody on top of the strider? Wait, is that a pig on the strider? Why is there a pig on the strider? I enjoy hardcore mode. I don't really enjoy the game. Oh. This is not where I want to be. Where's my hole? Chat, my hole. Chat, my hole's gone. Oh no, I don't want to be here. Oh. I don't have an iron pick. But this means I went above land, chat. I went above land. That means I cheated. And that means this world is dead. Nope, the world's dead. Oh. Oh well. Live and learn. Live and learn. That happens. I set a challenge for myself. And because I broke that challenge, I have to go back. What's the point of having a challenge if you don't abide by it? Hey, look, dogs. Hello, doggies. You know? I mean, what is there really to lose? I enjoy the time I played it. I had a fun experience with the game. All I lose is a few blocks. A lilac tree? What about the lilac tree? Should I do something with the lilac tree? It is pretty. Oh, really? Alright, we'll go straight down. Oh, well, I need to pick first. 1 second, chat. There we go. Am I weird, chat? Lovelies, darlings. That I play this so casually. Does it stress you out? I hope it doesn't. But that takes other resources. If I don't have the resources, what do I do? Of course, you just make it work. How deep do you think this cave is? Oh. This doesn't seem like a lush cave at all. That's a creeper. Hello, creeper. Chad, I apologize for the big boom you're about to hear. Well. You know you did tell me to drag just down, right? Noti. You also didn't say I need to get your resources. Oh, I mean, there's outlines. You don't need anything more than outlines, do you? Fortunately, I have nothing I can make coal out of, so unless I find charcoal soon, we're gonna have no way to survive down here. Oh no, won't that be bad? Get walled off, nerd. Oh, here's the rooted dirt. I assume if I follow the roots, eventually we'll get there, right? that's what we're looking for. Sweet. And we have enough stone for a furnace. Nice. Oh, it's so much coal. Oh, we could survive down here for a while as long as I can find a nice place to live. Do I have normal dirt? We do. Oh, look at that shit. We're gonna be fine. It might be a nightmare to survive randomly. But hey, I'm sure we'll be fine. Can I plant unrooted dirt? I can. Oh, this is lovely. Oh, that's all. Let's not go too quickly this time. Do I have a shield to protect myself, unfortunately? Hello? What do we have here? Looks like the start of a little lush cave, doesn't it? And iron. Oh, sweetie, how I've missed you. Now, unfortunately, we have no source of wood, really. But at least we can make a shield. Maybe survive a little bit longer. How does that sound? Do you want me to make a shield? Or should I just keep going? Since no one is saying, I assume you want me to keep going, right? You do want me to keep going? Perfect. I'm just gonna wait for the iron to finish. That way I can take it with me. Ugh, doesn't look like this actually connects anywhere useful. Do what makes me happy. I'm streaming to you all. That's what makes me happy. No, but I'll build a shield. Hey, I'm not lying. Why would you roll your eyes at that? Oh, I should make an iron pick at least. There we go. Keep us going for a little bit longer. There we go. Down, down, down. Further down. Totally. Get yourself some checkered stockings. I'm sure they'd be very, very cute. Okay, here we go. That looks fun down there. I missed. Well, Jen, we have been going for about 3 hours. And I'm getting very, very hungry. So unfortunately, I think this is where I'm going to have to call it. I'll go get myself some food. I hope you all had a lovely, lovely time today. Because I know I did. I most certainly did. I apologize for that, chat. I did not realize I was going to play, but I don't think you all heard it. Which is nice. Let's see if we can find somebody to raid into. Okay. Oof, do we have nobody today? We're gonna try out a few people. Are they ASMR? Because remember, we've been rated by a few ASMR people today, so we can't be rating into anything too overly energetic. Oh, I'm so annoyed by all these fucking ads. So annoyed by all these ads. No, I think they're trying to raid into somebody as well. Oh, it's the same person that they were watching. So they're not really gonna work for raid. Maybe this one will. If not, we can always raid into shrimps. We'll raid into kitty cats. Chat, go look at the kitty cats. Kitty cats and fire. And I will be back later, okay? You all be good. Mwah. Oh wait, no, this is a video. We're not raiding into a video, we're raiding into live. We're raiding into shrimps. Alright, say hi to shrimps for me. I'm gonna go out and get myself some good food. Maybe I'll even go to a sit-down restaurant. I'll miss you all so very much. Don't forget, we're doing media share today. Media share. We're gonna watch media together. Bye for now.